He did not watch from across the road. He did not follow routines. And he did not learn names. You see, years before anyone noticed him, he placed tools underground, in remote places, in cold ground, in areas that no one returned to very often. Long before police connected anything at all, he had already walked away. The story does not begin with a chase. It only begins with patience. A man who believed that planning could erase him. Tonight, you're going to hear a story how an investigation moved in reverse and how one quiet error revealed the person thought he could never be traced. February 2012. The city was Anchorage, Alaska. Night air cuts through the clothing, bitter cold. The roads remain quiet. People had long since hurried home. A roadside coffee stand stays open late. Inside, there was a young woman named Samantha Hennig as she prepared to close the stand. Camera footage later reveals a man approaching. Average height, dressed in plain clothing, with a very natural, calm tone. He sat down and he ordered a drink. And moments later, he produced a weapon. The recording shows her leaving the stand with him. There was no shouting, no visible panic. And then they both vanished into darkness. By the morning time, concern turns urgent. Police locate the stand. Inside, they notice blood. Not much, but enough. What they do not see is a direction. There's no vehicle description, no clear face. Early thinking points point toward a local crime. But that one belief will not last. Days go by. No message, no demand, and no contact. But then activity appears. Samantha's bank card registers withdrawals. But here's the thing, folks. Those bank card registers were not even remotely nearby. Not even close. Transactions jump across long distances, state after state. Investigators realized something unusual. The person involved is traveling with intention. This is not panic. This ain't panic at all. This man is confident in what he's doing. This is nothing more than movement. Maps begin to fill with pins, each one farther away. What was once believed to be a local crime now becomes a national concern. March 2012, Lufkin, Texas. A routine traffic stop. A rental vehicle. And out-of-area plates. The driver remains calm, answers very politely, possesses a great demeanor. His disposition is great. Inside the car, police find cash, a weapon, and a debit card tied to the missing woman. Authorities take him into custody. But at this point, he is not charged with murder. Yet. Israel Keys does not rush to explain anything. He is controlling the pace. He asks questions. He sets conditions. He doesn't want any public attention, doesn't want any dramatic headlines, and no execution. He does agree to talk, but very, very selective. And what emerges troubles every investigator present. This man did not act on impulse. He only worked for preparation. He traveled widely, chose places, not people. And, very disturbing, was that he planned years in advance. Israel Keys describes containers placed underground long before any crime. Each one held items meant for restraint and bodily harm. He remembered each location without written notes nor GPS. He waited, sometimes for years. And when the moment felt right, he returned. Victims, they only came from chance. There were no shared background and no link. Entire regions carried hidden damage without even knowing it. Authorities understand something new. They are not dealing with a series. They are dealing with a method. Israel Keys began to name the locations. A couple taken from a home in the Northeast. They travel across long distance, and there were no witnesses. Another event on the West Coast. Each account lacks the details police must rely on. But Israel Keys limits the information he gives. Investigators suspect more victims than he admits to. And before every answer can surface, the process stops. But while held in custody, Israel Keys ends his own life. He leaves behind drawings, phrases, and hints. Not clarity on anything. Investigators, they retrace everything. Travel records, rental agreements, and transaction data. They replay the interviews. They realize he built his actions around avoiding overlap, avoiding repetition, avoiding notice, until one fatal decision broke that control. Using a bank card tied him to movement. That choice revealed the person behind years of silence. The man believed planning erased identity, but it did not. Again, his name was Israel Keys. And even now, no one knows the full count of all the people that he possibly alleged could have killed. You see, some individuals, they seek attention. And other individuals, they seek control. This one here, Israel Keys sought disappearance. Yet the quiet places remain. They remember. The records remain. And most of all, so many questions endure. And every hidden act leaves something behind. This story is about the BTK Killer and the double life that he unknowingly lived amongst people that trusted him, and most of all, they loved him. You see, for decades, he lived openly. He attended church, he led meetings, and he helped the neighbors. And while families waited for phone calls that never came, he was busy singing hymns in church. While detectives reviewed cold pages again and again, he bowed his head in prayer. This story is not only about death, it is about time. About how long a killer can live an ordinary life while the horrors remain unanswered. And how patience, not brilliance, ended him. Early 1974, Wichita, Kansas. Middle America, modest homes, and routine days. On a quiet road, the Otero home becomes a place of terror. See, inside are 4 people: Joseph Otero, Julie Otero, 2 children. A man enters under a false story. He carries rope, but most of all, he carries control. One by one, he restrains them. Now understand, he is in no hurry, and he has no panic in him whatsoever, fully confident in what he is about to do. When police arrive later, the scene leaves even veteran officers silent, speechless. Whole entire family gone, with no witnesses and no clear motive. Killer leaves behind nothing but confusion and a promise, though no one hears it yet, This is not going to end anytime soon. Months later, a letter arrives at a local newspaper. It contains details that were never released publicly, and the writer wants all the credit. He names himself using 3 letters only: BTK. Find, torture, and kill. And he explains nothing more. Authorities realize something chilling: that the killer wants attention, but not capture. He wants to be known, but only on his terms. During these years, Dennis Rader builds a life. He's married, he has children, and he is employed a very good job. He becomes very active in his church. Not quietly. He participates, even leads, and he holds roles of trust. People see him as rigid, rule-driven, and unknowingly to them, they believe he's moral. No one connects this man to the violence haunting Wichita, Kansas. And that separation protects him. See, in this case, his faith becomes nothing more than a cover-up for his real identity. And his routine on a daily basis becomes his armor. Over the next decade, women die. Some alone, some at home. Each crime varies slightly, and not one single pattern helps police. You see, he waits long periods between his acts of violence. Even years pass. Detectives retire, and new ones inherit old files. Technology changes dramatically, and memories fade. Killer, he ages quietly. BTK becomes a name from another time altogether. Then, nothing but silence. For nearly 20 years. This gap protects him more than anything else. People assume that the BTK Killer had passed on. Maybe he moved away. Maybe he just stopped. But Dennis Rader remains nearby. He attends his church on a regular basis. He participates in his local community's work. He enforces rules at work with rigid intensity. See, more than anything, control matters to him. What no one knows is that the desire never left. Only his patience grew. In the early 2000 era, BTK writes again. Letters arrive, packages follow. He wants all the recognition once again. He believes he can play again without risk. He asks the police questions, and he believes their answers. But one question seals his fate. He asks whether a digital disc can be traced. Police have replied publicly, and they lie. When a disc arrives, it leads directly to him. Church computer, work record, and name revealed. And after more than 30 years, the wait finally comes to a close. Dennis Rader is arrested quietly. His neighbors watch in total disbelief. Oh my God, the church. He react with nothing but shock and awe. During court, he speaks very freely, and he describes each death with absolute pride. No remorse, no emotion. The man of prayer vanishes. What remains is control, even now. BTK was not caught by brilliance. He was caught by time, by age, by his very, very large ego, and by some uncontrolling need to be seen. Decades, he lived among those who trusted him totally. That truth unsettles more than the violence itself. Because see, it reminds us that evil does not always hide. Sometimes it kneels right beside you. This is the very, very disturbing story of the twisted mind of Ted Bundy. Psychological assessments and analysis of Bundy's behavior reveal that his crimes and public persona were heavily driven by a need for grandiosity, admiration, and a total lack of empathy. Experts have pointed to several key behaviors that align with narcissistic personality disorder. First is grandiosity and superiority. Bundy displayed an exaggerated sense of self-importance, believing he was smarter than law enforcement, his lawyers, and the entire justice system. The need for attention and admiration. He thrived on media attention, relished his notoriety, and actively engaged with fans and reporters while on death row. Number 3, exploitive nature. He viewed people, especially women, as objects to be used for his own gratification and to maintain his desired self-image. 4, arrogance in court. During his trials, Bundy famously acted as his own attorney, a move driven by ego and the belief that he could manipulate the jury. Number 5, the lack of remorse. As a power control killer, his actions were driven by a desire to dominate others, completely void of guilt or empathy for his victim. Many experts classify Bundy as a malignant narcissist, a severe, destructive form of narcissism that mixes antisocial behavior with sadism, paranoia, and extreme narcissism. Psychologists often place Bundy at the intersection of the dark triad of personality traits. And here is the story of Ted Bundy. He sits calmly, legs crossed, hair neatly parted, no restraints, no visible fear. Just a quiet confidence, as if this is another interview in another audience. Ted Bundy looks directly at the camera, smiles. What the public doesn't see in that smile, what investigators spent years trying to understand, how many lives were already over by the time anyone realized what he truly was. This is the story of how one man killed for years in plain sight, and how long it took to finally stop him. A boy with no shadow, Ted Bundy was born Theodore Robert Cowell in 1946. From the beginning, there were questions about who he really was. He was raised believing his grandparents were his parents, and his mother was his sister. When the truth surfaced, it didn't come with closure. It only came with confusion. Those close to him later described Ted as quiet, observant, and intensely private. A boy who watched people more than he spoke to them. Teachers said he was very intelligent. Neighbors said he was polite. Friends said he was quite forgettable. But behind closed doors, there were early signs. Violent fantasies, fascination with control, and an obsession with dominance that had no outlet yet. Nothing criminal, nothing provable, nothing that would raise any alarms. Ted, well, he learned early how to blend in. By the late 1960s, Ted Bundy was building a life that looked enviable on paper. He attended college. He volunteered at a suicide prevention hotline. And he also worked on political campaigns. Worst part was, people trusted him. And even worse than that, women felt safe around him. And this was not accidental. Bundy carefully constructed his image. Well-spoken, ambitious, attentive. And he studied how people reacted to him and adjusted accordingly. He learned that kindness disarmed suspicion, and the vulnerability created access. Behind that mask, his fantasies were escalating. They were no longer abstract. Now they were becoming plans. In early 1974, young women around the Pacific Northwest began vanishing. College students, often in daylight, and often in public places. There were never no signs of struggle, no witnesses who could say for certain exactly what they saw. Investigators treated each case separately at first. Different cities, different jurisdictions, with no obvious connection. The patterns were forming. See, several witnesses mentioned a man named Ted, a man with a cast or sling, a man who asked for help. He wasn't forcing anyone. They were choosing to go with him. And that made him very hard to catch. Bundy exploited empathy, something that he lacked. He always appeared injured, arm in a sling, leg in a cast, and asked women for assistance carrying books or loading his car. Once he had them close, the situation shifted really fast. The public later struggled to understand how so many intelligent women fall for the same tactic over and over. But the truth is much simpler and very much more unsettling. See, he didn't look like danger. He actually looked like someone that needed help. Once inside his vehicle, escape became nearly impossible. Law enforcement faced a nightmare scenario. No bodies, no crime scenes, and no consistent forensic evidence. Oh yeah, tips poured in. But Bundy's name was just one name among many. Even when his girlfriend, Elizabeth Klepper, reported him to police, the evidence wasn't enough. He was interviewed, he was watched, and then he was released. See, Bundy understood this system better than most criminals ever would or can. He knew how far police would go, and a line where they decide to stop. And he kept on killing. In 1975, Bundy was finally arrested in Utah after a survivor escaped and identified him. For the very first time, there was a witness. Oh, the case looked solid. But Ted Bundy chose to represent himself. He had studied law, he exploited procedure, and he turned the courtroom into his personal stage. And then he did the unthinkable. He escaped. See, not once, understand now, twice. Each escape was a humiliation for the system and a gift to Bundy. By the time he reached Florida, this man was more dangerous than ever. 1978, Bundy entered Chi Omega sorority house. This time, there was no manipulation, no charm, no pretense. The violence was chaotic fast. Multiple victims survived. Witnesses saw him. And the evidence was overwhelming. Ted Bundy no longer hid behind his mask. Facing execution, Bundy began to talk. Not out of remorse, but control. He offered partial confessions, shifting details, only delaying justice. Investigators believed he enjoyed having information families desperately needed and wanted. Even at the end, he really tried to manage the narrative. But, see, the truth had outgrown him. Detectives now believe Bundy's crimes escalated because he was never truly stopped early. Each missed opportunity reinforced his confidence. Each escape validated his belief that he was truly smarter than the system. He wasn't invisible, but he was underestimated. January 24th, 1989, Ted Bundy was executed. And outside the prison, people cheered. Inside, the man who once smiled for the camera is finally out of time. Understand, folks, Ted Bundy did not look like a monster. And that's why it took so long to see him. That is what made him so damn dangerous. The story of Ed Gein, the mother of madness and the murders. In the quiet town of Plainfield, Wisconsin, a man lived quietly on the outskirts, tending to his small farm. Neighbors rarely saw him. He was a mystery, a recluse. What authorities discovered one morning absolutely shocked the entire world. Human remains, objects made from skin, and at the heart of it all, a man so consumed by grief and obsession, Ed Gein. Ed Gein was born in 1906. He was the second son of George and Augusta Gein. See, George was an alcoholic and he was very distant. Now, Augusta, she was so controlling, fanatically religious, and completely and totally obsessed with sin. She taught her sons that women were evil, that the world was full of corruption, and that only she was pure. Ed's life revolved entirely around his mother. You see, he obeyed every command. He avoided peers and never ever formed any relationships with girls. His mother, absolutely his moral compass. And he so feared of losing her guidance. In 1945, Augusta Gein died of heart failure. Ed was devastated. His grief became all-consuming. Unable to let go, he retreated further into isolation, visiting cemeteries at night and exhuming recently buried women. Then he brought the bodies back to his farm. Skulls, bones, and preserved body parts, all carefully cataloged, stored, and even sometimes displayed. To Ed, these were not corpses. They were nothing but a way to remain connected to his mother. When the police found the bones on display, they said it was unlike anything they had ever seen. Ed Gein's farmhouse was a reflection of his mind. Dark, cluttered, very grotesque. Skulls lined the shelves. Lampshades and chairs were made from human skin. And at the center, the so-called woman suit, created to allow Ed to become his mother, to embody her perfection and control. Psychologists would later describe this as an extreme manifestation of grief and maternal obsession. He was not only preserving his mother's memory, he was actually trying to become her. Though Ed Gein didn't kill many, the acts he committed were horrifyingly intimate. He targeted women who resembled his mother, stealing them from graves, or in some cases, from the living. Bernice Warden, the local hardware store owner, disappeared one day. Her son went to the police, and the investigation led them to Ed Gein's farm, where the nightmare would be revealed. On November the 16th, 1957, authorities arrived at Ed Gein's farmhouse. They were greeted by a scene that would become infamous. Human remains arranged like household decorations, and a woman's suit crafted from skin. Skulls lined the shelves, and a smell, metallic, coppery, so unforgettable. Ed Gein was arrested without resistance. He was calm and emotionless. His life of isolation, obsession, and grief had culminated in this shocking revelation. Ed Gein was declared legally insane. He never faced a trial for most of the crimes, though he did confess to grave robbing and 2 known murders. And he spent the rest of his life in mental institutions, dying in 1984. His crimes inspired countless horror stories, such as Norman Bates in Psycho, Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Buffalo Bill in The Silence of the Lambs. Each borrowed from the macabre world Gein created. Let's reconstruct the events. Ed Gein, driven by grief and maternal obsession, began grave robbing in the 1940s. His victims were women resembling his mother. Objects made from human remains filled his farmhouse. And when Bernice Warden disappeared, full horror was exposed. Ed Gein's story is not just one of murder. It is a story of control, isolation, grief, and obsession. His mother's shadow loomed over every act, every object, and every crime. And in the end, Ed Gein became a chilling reminder of what happens when the mind gets twisted by fear, grief, and devotion taken way too far. Ed Gein's life was one of darkness, isolation, and obsession. While he is gone, his story endures as one of the most infamous cases in American true crime history. A man shaped by his mother, consumed by her memory, and forever leaving a mark on horror culture.